I never thought I'd be the type of woman to go through her husband's phone. But there I was at 2 a.m., David snoring beside me, his iPhone glowing with yet another late-night notification. My hands trembled as I swiped open the message thread. The name at the top made my blood freeze: Amy Richardson. I knew that name. She worked at David's marketing firm, the stunning blonde he'd mentioned casually over dinner a few times. The messages weren't casual at all. "Can't stop thinking about last night," her text read, accompanied by a photo that made me physically sick. "When are you going to tell Michelle? I'm tired of hiding." David's response was worse than the image. "Soon, baby. Just need to figure out the finances. She'll get half of everything, but you're worth it. Can't wait to start our real life together." I scrolled up, my heart shattering with each exchange. Months of messages, photos, plans, promises of a future that didn't include me. "Meet me at the Riverside Hotel tomorrow. Room 247. I have something special planned for us," Amy had written just hours ago. "Wouldn't miss it. Love you, gorgeous." Love, he loved her. After 7 years of marriage, he loved someone else. I set the phone down carefully, my entire body numb. David stirred beside me, and I wanted to scream, to shake him awake and demand answers. Instead, I slipped out of bed and walked to our bathroom, staring at my reflection in the mirror. When had I become invisible? When had I stopped being enough? By morning, rage had replaced the numbness. David kissed my cheek before leaving for work, the same routine peck he'd given me for years. "Working late tonight," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Big presentation tomorrow. Big presentation." Right. I waited exactly 10 minutes after his car pulled out of the driveway before I was in my own car, driving with no destination in mind. I just needed to move, to do something other than sit in that house full of lies. I ended up at Meridian, an upscale bar in the financial district I'd never been to before. It was the kind of place where successful people went to make deals and drink expensive whiskey. Perfect for drowning my sorrows in style. The bartender, a woman with kind eyes, didn't ask questions when I ordered my third glass of wine before noon. The alcohol burned away the sharp edges of my pain, replacing them with a dangerous kind of clarity. That's when I noticed him. He was sitting 3 stools down, wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. Dark hair, strong jawline, and eyes that seemed to see everything. When our gazes met, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: genuine interest from an attractive man. "Rough morning?" he asked, his voice low and warm as he moved to the empty stool beside me. I laughed bitterly, taking another sip of wine. "You could say that. Just discovered my husband is planning to leave me for his 25-year-old coworker." His expression shifted to something deeper than polite sympathy. "I'm sorry, that's devastating." "James Morrison," he said, extending his hand. "And before you ask, yes, I'm a divorce attorney. I know the timing seems convenient, but I promise I wasn't trolling for clients." His hand was warm, strong, and he didn't let go immediately. "Michelle," I replied, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "Michelle," he repeated, like he was tasting my name. "Can I buy you lunch? You shouldn't drink on an empty stomach, especially when processing something this traumatic." I should have said no, should have gone home, confronted David, started the difficult conversations that needed to happen. Instead, I found myself nodding. James guided me to a quiet corner booth, his hand resting lightly on the small of my back. The touch was professional, respectful, but it sent electricity through me anyway. "Tell me what happened," he said after we'd ordered. "If you want to, that is." Something about his genuine concern broke down my walls. I told him everything: the late-night texts, the photos, the plans they'd made without considering my feelings. James listened without interrupting, his dark eyes never leaving my face. 7 years, I finished, my voice cracking slightly. 7 years, and he's throwing it away for someone who's barely out of college. "His loss," James said firmly. "Any man who would cheat on a woman like you is an idiot." The way he said it, with such conviction, made heat rise in my cheeks. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." His gaze intensified. "I know you're loyal, you stayed faithful while he was running around. I know you're strong, you're handling this with more grace than most people would. And I know you're beautiful, though I suspect you haven't felt that way in a long time." My breath caught. When was the last time David had called me beautiful? When was the last time he'd really looked at me? "I could help you," James continued, his voice dropping lower. Legally, I mean. Make sure you get what you deserve in the divorce, but more than that. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine. I could remind you what it feels like to be appreciated. The contact sent shivers up my arm. This was dangerous territory, but after months of feeling invisible, his attention was intoxicating. I'm still married, I whispered, though I didn't pull my hand away. Technically, he agreed, his thumb tracing small circles on my wrist. But emotionally, Michelle, your marriage ended the moment he started texting another woman. You just didn't know it yet. He was right, and we both knew it. David had already checked out of our relationship. Why should I be the only one staying faithful to something that no longer existed? I should go, I said, but I made no move to leave. Should you? James asked, his eyes searching mine. Or should you finally do something for yourself? When was the last time someone made you feel desired, Michelle? When was the last time you felt alive? His words hit me like a physical blow. I couldn't remember. With David, I'd become a roommate, a caretaker, a fixture he barely noticed. But James was looking at me like I was the most fascinating woman in the room. I don't want to make any decisions while I'm emotional, I said, though my resolve was crumbling. Then don't decide anything, he said, signaling for the check. Just let me take care of you today. No expectations, no pressure. You deserve to feel special, even if it's just for an afternoon. As he helped me with my coat, his hands lingering on my shoulders, I felt something I'd thought was dead forever. Hope. Maybe not for my marriage, but for myself. For the possibility that I could be wanted again. My car's in the garage downstairs, James said softly. We could go for a drive, talk somewhere more private, or I could call you a cab home, whatever you need. I looked into his eyes, seeing genuine care mixed with unmistakable desire. David was probably with Amy right now, planning their future together. Why should I go home to an empty house and wait for him to destroy what was left of my heart? A drive sounds nice, I heard myself say. James smiled, and for the first time in months, I felt truly seen. The elevator ride to the parking garage felt endless. James stood close enough that I could smell his cologne, something expensive and masculine that made my head spin more than the wine had. When the doors opened, he placed his hand on the small of my back, guiding me toward a sleek black Mercedes. Nice car, I said, needing to fill the charged silence between us. It's just a car, James replied, opening the passenger door for me. Though I admit I do like nice things. As he settled into the driver's seat, I watched his hands on the steering wheel. Strong hands, capable hands, so different from David's soft, neglectful touch. Where should we go? He asked. Somewhere quiet, I heard myself say. Somewhere we can talk. James nodded and pulled out of the garage. We drove through downtown Seattle in comfortable silence, the city lights blurring past my window. I should have felt guilty. I should have asked him to take me home. Instead, I felt more alive than I had in years. We ended up at his apartment, a modern high-rise with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. The space was immaculate, all clean lines and expensive furniture. Can I get you something to drink? James asked, loosening his tie. Water would be good, I said, though my mouth had gone dry for entirely different reasons. He handed me a crystal glass, our fingers brushing in the exchange. The simple contact sent electricity up my arm. Michelle, he said softly, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. We can just talk. But I didn't want to just talk. I was tired of talking, tired of being reasonable, tired of being the good wife while my husband planned his escape with another woman. What if I don't want to just talk? I asked, setting down my water glass. James stepped closer, his eyes searching my face. Then tell me what you want. I want to forget, I whispered. I want to feel wanted. I want to feel alive. His hand came up to cup my cheek. You are wanted, Michelle. You're incredible, and your husband is a fool for not seeing it. When he kissed me, it was nothing like David's perfunctory pecks. James kissed me like he was drowning and I was air. His hands tangled in my hair, and I melted against him, months of loneliness and rejection dissolving under his touch. My phone buzzed against my hip. David's ringtone. James pulled back slightly, his breathing heavy. Answer it, he said, his voice rough. With shaking hands, I pulled out my phone. David's face smiled back at me from the screen, a photo from happier times that now felt like ancient history. Hi, I said, trying to keep my voice steady as James moved behind me, his hands settling on my waist. Hey babe, where are you? David's voice sounded distracted, probably scrolling through to me. I'm staying at a friend's tonight, I said, the lie rolling off my tongue easier than I'd expected. James's lips found the sensitive spot where my neck met my shoulder, and I had to bite back a gasp. Oh, which friend? David asked, though he didn't sound particularly interested. Amy, I said, the irony not lost on me. Girls' night, don't wait up. Okay, cool, I'm probably going to work late anyway. See you tomorrow. He hung up without saying he loved me, without asking if I was okay, just like always. James turned me around to face him, his eyes dark with desire and something else, anger on my behalf. He doesn't even care where you are, he said, his thumb tracing my lower lip. No, I whispered. He doesn't. I would care, James said fiercely. If you were mine, I'd want to know where you were every second, not because I didn't trust you, but because I'd miss you. His words broke something inside me. When was the last time David had missed me? When was the last time he'd looked at me with desire instead of indifference? I reached up and pulled James down to me, kissing him with all the passion I'd been holding back for months. He responded immediately, his hands roaming my body like he was memorizing every curve. Are you sure? He asked against my lips. I've never been more sure of anything, I said. What followed was unlike anything I'd experienced in my marriage. James worshipped my body with his hands and mouth, telling me how beautiful I was, how perfect, how incredible. He made me feel like a goddess instead of an afterthought. Where David was selfish and rushed, James was generous and patient. He took his time, learning what made me gasp, what made me arch against him, what made me call out his name. When it was over, I lay in his arms, my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat slow. The guilt should have hit me then, but all I felt was satisfaction and a strange sense of rightness. You're amazing, James murmured into my hair. Absolutely amazing. I tilted my head up to look at him. I've never done anything like this before. Cheated? He asked gently. Any of it, I said. David and we've been together since college. I've never been with anyone else. James's arms tightened around me. He really is an idiot. Do you know how rare it is to find someone like you? Someone loyal and passionate and beautiful. I felt tears prick my eyes. He doesn't think I'm any of those things anymore. Then he's blind, James said fiercely. You deserve so much better, Michelle. We talked until dawn, sharing stories and secrets. James told me about his divorce, how his ex-wife had cleaned him out but taught him what he really wanted in a relationship. I told him about my dreams, the ones I'd put aside to support David's career. You could still pursue those dreams, he said. It's not too late. It feels too late sometimes, I admitted. Trust me, James said, pressing a kiss to my forehead. 29 is not too late for anything. As the sun rose over Elliott Bay, I knew I had to go home. James gave me his personal number, not his business card. Call me, he said as we stood by his door. Not for legal advice, just call me. I nodded, tucking his number safely into my purse next to David's business card, the one with Amy's number written on the back. The Uber ride home felt like traveling between two different worlds. James's world, where I was wanted and desired and valued, and David's world, where I was invisible. David was in the shower when I got home, getting ready for another day at the office. Another day with Amy, probably. How was girls' night? He called out when he heard me come in. Fine, I called back, hiding my smile. If only he knew. I made coffee and sat at our kitchen table, James's number burning a hole in my purse. I'd crossed a line last night, and there was no going back. But for the first time in months, I didn't want to go back. I wanted to go forward. The next 2 weeks became a masterclass in deception. James and I started meeting twice a week, sometimes 3 times when David worked late. I told David I'd joined a new yoga studio downtown. Hot Flow Fusion, I called it, knowing he'd never ask details about something so foreign in the world of spreadsheets and quarterly reports. That's great, honey, he'd say absently, not even looking up from his laptop. You seem happier lately. If only he knew why. James and I met at the Fairmont Olympic usually, sometimes the 4 Seasons when he could get away longer. He'd text me room numbers, and I'd slip up service elevators like some kind of sophisticated spy. The thrill of it all was intoxicating, the secrecy, the danger, the way James looked at me like I was the only woman in the world. You're glowing, he whispered one afternoon as we lay tangled in Egyptian cotton sheets, Seattle's skyline stretching beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. I can't get enough of you, Michelle. His hands traced patterns on my bare shoulder, and I felt more alive than I had in years. With David, intimacy had become routine, perfunctory. With James, every touch felt electric. I should go, I said, but made no move to leave his arms. Stay a little longer. His lips found that sensitive spot just below my ear. Tell David you're shopping with Amy after yoga. The irony wasn't lost on me, using my husband's mistress's name as my alibi. But it worked perfectly. David never questioned it. I became an expert at covering my tracks. I bought yoga clothes and left them strategically in my gym bag. I researched downtown studios obsessively so I could answer any random questions. I even downloaded meditation apps on my phone to complete the illusion. The hardest part was managing my appearance. James made me feel beautiful, desired, and it showed. My skin had a new radiance, my eyes sparkled with secrets, my whole body language had changed. I walked taller, smiled more. You look amazing lately, my sister Sarah commented when we met for coffee. What's your secret? New skincare routine. Just taking better care of myself, I said, stirring my latte to avoid her probing gaze. But Sarah wasn't fooled. Michelle, is everything okay? You seem different, secretive. My heart hammered. I'm fine. Just busy with work and this new yoga thing. Yoga, huh? She raised an eyebrow. Which studio? Hot Flow Fusion. Downtown. The lie rolled off my tongue smoothly now. I've never heard of it. Maybe we could go together sometime. Panic fluttered in my chest. It's really advanced. You probably wouldn't like it. Sarah studied me for a long moment, but thankfully dropped it. Still, I made a mental note to be more careful around friends. The close calls were multiplying. Last Tuesday, I'd run into David's colleague Mark while leaving the Fairmont. My heart had nearly stopped. Michelle, fancy seeing you here. Business meeting. Oh, just meeting a girlfriend for lunch, I'd said, grateful for the oversized sunglasses hiding my post-James glow. You know how it is. Mark had seemed satisfied, but the encounter left me shaky for hours. James, meanwhile, was pushing for more. Leave him, he said one evening as we shared wine in his downtown apartment. You're miserable, Michelle. I can see it in your eyes when you talk about going home. He was right, but it wasn't that simple. James, it's complicated. The house, my job, everything's intertwined with David. We'll figure it out together. His hands cupped my face. I'm falling for you, Michelle, hard. The words made my heart soar and terrify me simultaneously. This had started as revenge, as a way to feel powerful again. But somewhere between stolen afternoons and whispered confessions, it had become something more. I care about you too, I admitted, but I need time. James's jaw tightened slightly. How much time? Because I'm not interested in being your dirty little secret forever. The ultimatum stung, even though I understood it. James was successful, attractive, available. He could have any woman he wanted. Why would he settle for stolen moments with a married woman? That night, I went home to find David cooking dinner, a rare occurrence that immediately put me on alert. What's the occasion? I asked, noting the candles, the good wine. Can a husband cook for his wife without an occasion? He smiled, but it seemed forced. During dinner, he was unusually attentive, asking about my day, my yoga classes, my plans for the weekend. It felt like an interrogation disguised as conversation. You seem different lately, he said over dessert. Happier, it's nice. The yoga is really helping, I said, taking a sip of wine to steady my nerves. Maybe I should try it sometime. Which studio did you say? My blood turned to ice. David had never shown interest in yoga, ever. Hot Flow Fusion, but it's really not your thing, trust me. Still, maybe I could drive you sometime. See where this miracle transformation is happening. The threat was subtle but clear. David was suspicious. That night, as he slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling wondering how much longer I could maintain this double life. My phone buzzed with a text from James. Thinking of you, can't wait to see you tomorrow. I deleted it immediately, but not before feeling that familiar flutter of excitement mixed with guilt. The next morning, David left early for a client breakfast, probably with Amy. The hypocrisy would have been laughable if it weren't so painful. Here we were, both cheating, both lying, both pretending our marriage was fine. I met James at the Four Seasons that afternoon, but something felt different. Heavier. You're distracted, he said as we lay in the aftermath of passion. David's getting suspicious, asking questions about my yoga classes, wanting to drive me places. James sat up, running his hands through his dark hair. This is exactly what I was talking about, Michelle. The sneaking around, the stress. It doesn't have to be this way. I know, but what? You're protecting a man who's cheating on you with his secretary. A man who doesn't appreciate you, doesn't see you, doesn't make you happy. His words hit like physical blows because they were true. Every single one. It's not that simple, James. It is that simple. He turned to face me fully. You're just scared. I wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Because he was right, I was scared. Scared of starting over, scared of the unknown, scared of admitting my marriage had been over long before I discovered David's affair. Scared of falling completely for a man I'd met in a moment of revenge and vulnerability. Give me a little more time, I whispered. Please. James studied my face for a long moment, then pulled me close. Okay, but Michelle, I meant what I said. I'm falling for you, and I won't wait forever. As I drove home that evening, my phone rang. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. Hey, girl, so I looked up that yoga studio you mentioned, Hot Flow Fusion. I can't find it anywhere online. Are you sure that's the name? My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. Oh, it's really new. Probably hasn't updated their web presence yet. Weird. Well, maybe you could give me the address. I'm really interested in trying it. The walls were closing in. Friends asking questions, David getting suspicious, James pushing for commitment. How much longer could I keep all these plates spinning before everything came crashing down? Have you ever been in a complicated situation like this? Tell me in the comments. That night, I deleted James's number from my phone, then immediately typed it back in. I was in too deep to stop now, but not ready to jump completely. Caught between two worlds, two versions of myself, two very different futures. And time was running out to choose. The next morning, I woke to David staring at me across the breakfast table. Not reading his phone, not checking emails, just watching me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. Sleep well? He asked, stirring his coffee slowly. Fine, I replied, avoiding his gaze. My phone buzzed. James's name flashed on the screen. David's eyes tracked to my phone. Popular this morning. I silenced the call, my heart hammering. Work stuff. At 7 a.m. on a Saturday. Another buzz, another missed call from James. David's jaw tightened. I'll take this upstairs, I said, grabbing my phone. Michelle, his voice stopped me cold. We need to talk. I turned back, trying to keep my expression neutral. About what? David reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. My blood turned to ice as he smoothed it on the table. A hotel receipt. The Four Seasons. Found this in your purse last night when I was looking for your car keys, he said quietly. Room service for two. Champagne, strawberries. My mouth went dry. I'd been so careful, but somehow I'd missed this one damning piece of evidence. David, I can explain. Can you? He stood up, his chair scraping against the hardwood. Because I'm having trouble understanding why my wife is having romantic dinners at luxury hotels while I'm working late. My phone rang again. James's ringtone filled the tense silence. Answer it, David said, his voice deadly calm. I stared at the phone, paralyzed. If I answered, David would hear James's voice. If I didn't, his suspicions would only grow. The ringing stopped, then immediately started again. Jesus, Michelle, just answer the damn phone. No, I said quietly. David's face changed. The careful control cracked, revealing something raw and angry underneath. Who is he? The question hung between us like a loaded gun. This was it. The moment of truth I'd been dreading and somehow craving all at once. Who is Amy Richardson? The words left my mouth before I could stop them. David went completely still. What did you say? I walked to the kitchen counter and opened the drawer where I'd hidden the printed screenshots of his text messages. My hands shook as I pulled them out. Amy Richardson, your little yoga instructor from downtown, the one you've been texting about leaving me for. David's face went white. Michelle, how did you? I can't wait to start our new life together, I read from the printout. Michelle will never suspect. She's too wrapped up in her own world to notice. Those are private. Private? I slammed the papers on the counter. These are MY marriage you were discussing, MY future you were planning to destroy. David reached for the papers, but I snatched them back. How long? I demanded. How long have you been planning to leave me for her? Michelle, you don't understand. 6 months, a year. How long have you been making me feel crazy for thinking something was wrong? My phone rang again. This time, David lunged for it, but I was faster. Give me that phone. No, We struggled briefly, and the phone clattered to the floor. David dove for it, managing to see James's name on the screen before I grabbed it back. "James Morrison," he said slowly, "your divorce attorney." My heart stopped. "You've been fucking your divorce attorney." The doorbell rang before I could respond. We both froze, staring at each other across our destroyed kitchen, breathing hard. "Expecting someone?" I asked. David's face told me everything I needed to know. The doorbell rang again, followed by knocking. "David, are you there? It's Amy." I felt something snap inside me. "Amy Richardson is at my front door." "Michelle, I can explain. You brought your mistress to our house. She doesn't know you know." "David, is everything okay?" Amy's voice was getting louder. I heard shouting. My phone started ringing again. James's name lit up the screen like a neon sign of my own betrayal. David stared at it. "How long?" "What? How long have you been fucking the divorce attorney?" The crude words hit me like a slap. In all our years of marriage, David had never spoken to me like that. "Since I found out about your affair," I said quietly. His face crumpled. "Michelle." "David." Amy's knocking became more insistent. "I'm getting worried." "Tell her to leave," I said. "I can't just tell her to leave or I open that door and tell her myself." David looked at me like he'd never seen me before. Maybe he hadn't. Maybe I'd been hiding the real me for years, playing the perfect wife while slowly dying inside. My phone buzzed with a text from James. "Emergency at the office. Need to see you. Where are you?" David read it over my shoulder. "Emergency, huh? What kind of emergency requires a divorce attorney on Saturday morning?" The kind where his client's husband brings his mistress to their family home. The knocking stopped. Amy's voice came through the door, muffled but audible. "David, I'm getting really scared. If you don't answer, I'm calling the police." "Jesus Christ," David muttered, running his hands through his hair. "This is what you wanted, isn't it?" I asked, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. Both of us out in the open, no more sneaking around. David looked at the hotel receipt, then at my phone still buzzing with James's calls, then at the front door where his mistress was threatening to call the authorities. "I never wanted it to happen like this," he said quietly. "How did you want it to happen? Were you going to keep stringing me along while you planned your exit strategy with Amy? Make me think I was going crazy while you two laughed about it?" "We never laughed." "I don't care." The words exploded out of me. "I don't care about your feelings or her feelings or what you two talked about in bed." My phone rang again. This time I answered it. "James, I can't talk right now." "Michelle, what's wrong? You sound upset." David's eyes went wide hearing James's voice. "Everything's falling apart," I whispered. "Where are you? I'm coming to get you." "No, don't." "Michelle, I meant what I said last night. Whatever's happening, we'll face it together." David grabbed the phone from my hand. "This is David, Michelle's husband. Stay away from my wife." "David, no." I tried to grab the phone back. "Your wife." James's voice was loud enough for me to hear. "The wife you've been cheating on. The wife you've been planning to divorce." David's face went dead white. "What did she tell you?" "Everything. About Amy. About your lies. About how you made her feel worthless while you were planning your escape." The front door opened. Amy Richardson walked into my kitchen like she owned it, her yoga mat slung over her shoulder, her perfect blonde hair catching the morning light. She looked at David holding my phone, at me standing there in my pajamas with tear-streaked makeup, at the scattered papers and the hotel receipt on the counter. "Oh," she said softly, "oh shit." And that's when everything truly exploded. Amy stood frozen in my kitchen doorway, her perfect composure cracking as she took in the scene. David still clutched my phone, James's voice crackling through the speaker demanding answers. "David?" Amy's voice was small, uncertain. "What's going on?" David ended the call with a vicious scene. "What's going on is that my wife has been screwing her divorce lawyer." The words hit Amy like a physical blow. Her yoga mat slipped from her shoulder, hitting the floor with a soft thud. "Divorce lawyer." She looked between us, realization dawning. You're getting divorced." "Not anymore," David snarled, advancing on me. "Because apparently Michelle thinks she can just throw away 8 years of marriage for some legal dick." Something inside me snapped. The scared, apologetic wife disappeared, replaced by someone I barely recognized. "Throw it away?" I laughed, the sound harsh and bitter. "David, you threw it away the moment you stuck your tongue down Amy's throat at that yoga retreat." Amy's face went white. "How did you?" "The photos, sweetheart. All those beautiful, intimate photos David saved on his phone. The ones where you're wearing nothing but that little butterfly necklace he bought you. David spun toward Amy, his face a mask of fury. You said you deleted those. I thought I did. Amy stammered. Oh, but there's more, I continued, riding the wave of righteous anger. Like the text where you told him you loved how he made you feel alive again. Or the one where you planned that weekend in Portland while I was visiting my sick mother. My voice grew stronger with each revelation. Or my personal favorite, the one where you called me that frigid bitch he's stuck with. Amy's hand flew to her mouth. Michelle, I never meant. Shut you pee. The words exploded from me with such force that both David and Amy stepped back. You don't get to explain. You don't get to make excuses. You fucked my husband, in our bed, in our house, while I was taking care of his dying father. David tried to interrupt. Michelle, that's not. Don't you dare, I hissed. I saw the photos, David, the ones you took in our bedroom, on the sheets I picked out for our anniversary. I turned to Amy, my anger burning white-hot. And you, standing there in your little yoga outfit, acting shocked. You knew he was married. You knew I existed. But you didn't care, did you? As long as you got what you wanted. Amy's composure finally cracked. You don't understand. David and I have something special, something real. Real? I laughed again. Is that what you call sneaking around like teenagers, lying to everyone who matters to you? At least I didn't hire a lawyer to destroy my marriage. Amy shot back. The words hung in the air like a challenge. David's eyes bored into me, waiting for my response. You're right, I said quietly. I didn't hire James to destroy my marriage. I hired him because my marriage was already dead. Because my husband had been screwing his yoga instructor for 6 months. I walked to the kitchen counter, my bare feet silent on the cold tile. But you know what? Meeting James was the best thing that could have happened to me. David's face twisted with rage. You slut, you fucking slut. Careful, David. My voice was ice. That's not what you called me when you were begging me to try that thing Amy taught you. His hand twitched like he wanted to hit me. Part of me almost hoped he would. It would make this so much easier. James treats me like a queen, I continued, my voice growing stronger. He listens when I talk. He touches me like I'm precious. He makes me feel beautiful and wanted and alive. I looked directly at Amy. Everything your boyfriend stopped doing years ago. He's not my boyfriend, Amy whispered. It's complicated. Complicated? I pulled out my phone, scrolling to the screenshots I'd saved. I can't wait to start our life together, baby. Just a few more months and we'll be free. That was David's text to you last Tuesday. David went absolutely still. Amy stared at him with dawning horror. Michelle will never suspect anything. She's too busy with her boring job to notice I'm barely home anymore. That was Thursday. To a whisper. I love you, Amy. I've never felt this way about anyone, not even my wife. You're my future. Amy's eyes filled with tears. David, is that true? Did you really say those things? David's mouth opened and closed like a fish. It wasn't. You were just lying to both of us, I finished. Telling me you loved me while you planned your exit strategy. Telling Amy she was your future while you fucked me every night to keep up appearances. The kitchen fell silent except for Amy's quiet sobbing. The difference is, I continued, James never lied to me. He told me exactly what this was from the beginning. And when I was ready for more, he was honest about his feelings too. David found his voice. So what? You're just going to run off with some lawyer you barely know. I've known James for 3 months, David. 3 months of honesty and respect and incredible sex. More honesty than I've gotten from you in 3 years. Amy looked up from her tears. 3 months, but you just found out about us. 2 weeks ago, I confirmed. But I've been planning to leave David since the day I met James. The affair just gave me the courage to stop pretending. David's face went purple with rage. You've been planning this, you manipulative bitch, you've been. I've been what? I stepped closer to him, no longer afraid. I've been protecting myself, taking care of my future, doing exactly what you were doing with Amy. I turned to face both of them. The only difference is I'm not a hypocrite about it. My phone buzzed with a text. James, I'm outside, are you okay? I looked at David, then at Amy, then back at my phone. You know what? I said, typing back quickly. I'm done with this conversation. I grabbed my purse from the counter. David, you can have the house. You can have Amy. You can have whatever future you two think you're going to build on lies and betrayal. I walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. But let me ask you something. What would you tell your best friend if she was in my situation? Comment below. I looked at Amy, tears still streaming down her perfect face. And Amy, next time you want to steal someone's husband, maybe make sure he's not already planning to cheat on you too. I walked out of my kitchen, out of my house, and toward whatever came next. James was waiting by his Mercedes, his face dark with concern. When he saw me, relief flooded his features. Michelle. He opened his arms and I fell into them, finally, completely free. Behind me, I could hear David and Amy starting to argue, their voices rising in accusation and betrayal. I didn't look back. The next 3 weeks were a blur of lawyers, moving boxes, and awkward encounters at the grocery store. James held me as I cried in his car that first night, his strong hands stroking my hair while I sobbed out years of frustration and betrayal. "You did the right thing," he whispered against my temple. "You're free now." But freedom felt more like chaos. David moved out within 48 hours, taking only his clothes and his precious golf clubs. He left behind the wedding photos, the furniture we'd picked out together, even the coffee maker I'd given him for our second anniversary. Amy helped him pack, her designer yoga pants and perfectly styled hair a stark contrast to my rumpled pajamas and unwashed face. I watched from the kitchen window as they loaded his BMW, trying to feel something other than numb relief. Amy kept glancing at the house, probably wondering if I'd come outside and cause another scene. But I was done with scenes. I was done with David. "Michelle?" My sister Sarah's voice on the phone was careful, probing. "Mom told me what happened. Are you okay?" I stirred sugar into my coffee, alone in my too-quiet kitchen. "Define okay. Did you really? I mean, did you actually have an affair?" The judgment in her voice stung. "He cheated first, Sarah." "I know, but 2 wrongs don't make a right. You could have divorced him without." "Without what?" "Without protecting myself. Without having someone who actually wanted me while my husband was sexting his yoga instructor." Silence stretched between us. Finally, Sarah sighed. "I just never thought you were that type of person." I hung up without saying goodbye. The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday, delivered by a courier who looked embarrassed to be there. James found me on the kitchen floor an hour later, surrounded by legal documents and empty wine bottles. "Hey!" He knelt beside me, his expensive suit wrinkling against the tile. "Talk to me." "Everyone thinks I'm a cheating whore," I said, not looking up from the custody agreement David's lawyer had drafted. "My sister, my neighbors, probably half the people at Meridian." James's jaw tightened. "What people think doesn't matter, doesn't it?" I finally met his eyes. "What if they're right? What if I am just as bad as David?" "You're nothing like David." His voice was fierce, protective. "David betrayed you for months, planned to leave you, lied to your face every single day. You fought back. I wanted to believe him. But late at night, when James was at his own apartment and I was alone with my thoughts, the guilt crept in. Not guilt over leaving David, that felt like waking up from a nightmare, but guilt over how I'd left him, over the lies I'd told, over becoming someone I didn't recognize. The social fallout was worse than I'd expected. Our mutual friends seemed to split into camps overnight. Jennifer from book club stopped returning my calls. Marcus and Alina, who'd had us over for dinner just last month, suddenly became too busy for coffee dates. Even my gym buddies whispered when I walked past, their eyes following me with a mixture of pity and curiosity. But some people surprised me. Amy Richardson's own sister, Claire, cornered me at Whole Foods one afternoon. "I heard what happened," she said, her voice low and urgent. "Amy's been my sister for 32 years, and I love her, but she's always gone after married men. Always." I stared at her, my hand frozen on a bag of organic spinach. "This isn't the first marriage she's helped destroy," Claire continued. "I thought you should know what she did to you. It's a pattern." I thanked her and left without buying anything, my mind reeling. How many other wives had David and Amy hurt? How many other families had they torn apart with their selfish desires? James took me to dinner that night at a quiet restaurant in Capitol Hill, away from our usual haunts. His fingers intertwined with mine across the candle-lit table, and for a moment, I felt something like peace. "I have something to tell you," he said, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. "David's been calling my office." My blood went cold. "What?" "He wants to know if I'll represent him in the divorce." James's smile was sharp, dangerous. "Apparently Amy convinced him that since I'm the best divorce attorney in Seattle, he should try to hire me away from you." I couldn't help it, I laughed. Actually laughed, the sound bubbling up from somewhere deep in my chest. What did you tell him? I told him I had a conflict of interest. James lifted our joined hands to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to my knuckles. I told him I was sleeping with his wife. The laughter died in my throat. James, no, you didn't. I did. His eyes were blazing with satisfaction. And then I told him that unlike him, I had the decency to wait until she filed for divorce before I made it official. I pulled my hand away. You can't say things like that. The divorce isn't final yet. If David's lawyer finds out we were together before I filed, let them find out. James leaned back in his chair, supremely confident. Washington is a no-fault state, Michelle. Adultery doesn't affect property division or alimony. David can be as angry as he wants. It won't change the outcome. But that wasn't what I was worried about. I was worried about the way James seemed to enjoy the conflict, the way he deliberately provoked David when he could have just declined the case professionally. There was something almost predatory in his satisfaction, something that reminded me uncomfortably of David's own cruel streak. I need some air, I said, standing abruptly. James caught my wrist. Michelle, what's wrong? I looked down at him, this beautiful, brilliant man who'd helped me escape my marriage, who'd shown me passion I'd forgotten existed, who'd stood by me through the worst weeks of my life. And I felt the first stirring of doubt. I need to think. I walked outside into the cool Seattle evening, my heels clicking against the wet pavement. Behind me, I could hear James settling the bill, his movements sharp with frustration. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Your father and I support whatever decision you make, sweetheart. We love you. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. James emerged from the restaurant, his expression carefully controlled. Are you having second thoughts about us? I turned to face him, this man who'd been my lifeline and my rebellion, my salvation and my sin. I'm having second thoughts about everything. The hurt that flashed across his face was real, raw. For a moment, he looked vulnerable instead of predatory, lost instead of confident. Michelle, please, don't let David get in your head. Don't let him make you doubt what we have. I stepped closer to him, close enough to smell his cologne, to see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. What do we have, James? Really? He opened his mouth to answer, then closed it again. And in that hesitation, I found my answer. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. James's hands hung at his sides, his usual confidence stripped away by my question. What did we have? I'd been asking myself the same thing for days. We have something real, he said finally, his voice quieter than I'd ever heard it. At least I thought we did. I studied his face in the glow of the restaurant's neon sign. This man who'd swept into my life at my lowest moment, who'd shown me passion and possibility when I'd forgotten both existed. But doubt crept in like fog rolling off Elliott Bay. James, tell me honestly, would you have noticed me if I wasn't married? If I wasn't vulnerable and angry and desperate for revenge? He stepped closer, and I caught that familiar scent of his cologne mixed with rain. Michelle, that's not fair. It's a simple question. His jaw tightened. You want honesty? Fine. Maybe I wouldn't have approached you at Meridian if you'd been single and happy. But that's not how we met. And what happened after, that was real. Every kiss, every conversation, every moment we shared. That was us. My phone buzzed again. A text from Amy. David told me everything. We need to talk. I showed James the screen. His expression darkened. Don't respond to her, he said sharply. Why? Because you don't want me to hear what she has to say. Because she's toxic. Because she destroys everything she touches. His voice carried an edge I recognized now, the same predatory intensity he'd shown with David. I took a step back. How do you know so much about Amy Richardson? James went very still. What do you mean? You knew exactly who she was when I mentioned her name. You knew about her pattern with married men. How? The color drained from his face. Michelle, tell me the truth, James, all of it. He ran a hand through his dark hair, messing up his perfect styling. She was a client, 2 years ago, going through a messy divorce herself. And we had a brief relationship. It ended badly. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. You knew. When I told you about David's affair, you knew exactly who Amy was. You knew she was the woman destroying my marriage. James reached for me, but I stepped away. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you saw an opportunity for revenge and took it. At first, maybe. But Michelle, what we have now, that's not revenge. That's love. The word hung between us like a challenge. Love. I'd been so careful not to name what I felt for him, afraid of the implications, afraid of the mess we'd created. Is it, I whispered, or is it just two people using each other? My phone rang. David's name flashed on the screen. I answered without thinking. What do you want? Michelle, please, can we talk? Amy and I, it's over. It was a mistake. Everything was a mistake. James watched me with hawk-like intensity, his body tense. It's too late for that, David. No, it's not. We can fix this. We can go to counseling, start over. I'll do whatever it takes. I looked at James, this beautiful, complicated man who'd helped me discover my own strength, who'd shown me I deserved better than David's scraps of affection. But had he also manipulated me, used my pain for his own purposes? I can't do this right now, I told David and hung up. James stepped closer. Michelle, listen to me. Whatever you're thinking, whatever doubts David planted in your head, forget them. We're good together. We could have something beautiful. Built on what foundation? Lies, revenge, your history with the woman who destroyed my marriage. Built on the fact that I love you, he said fiercely. Built on the fact that you're stronger than you've ever been, that you deserve someone who sees your worth. Built on the fact that when you walk into a room, I can't look at anyone else. If this story is giving you butterflies, like and subscribe. His words hit me like a physical blow. Because despite everything, despite the deception, despite the timing, despite the mess we'd created, I felt it too. This pull toward him that had nothing to do with revenge and everything to do with the way he made me feel alive. James, I need time to think. How much time? I don't know. He pulled out his keys, the familiar jangle of his Mercedes keychain. Let me drive you home. I'll take an Uber. Michelle, please, don't shut me out. I looked at him, really looked. Past the perfectly styled hair and expensive suit, past the confident facade that had first attracted me. I saw the vulnerability he tried to hide, the loneliness that probably drove him to seek out women like me, women who were already broken, already leaving. But I also saw the man who'd held me when I cried about my father's disapproval, who'd listened when I talked about my dreams of going back to school, who'd made me feel desired and valued when my own husband had made me feel invisible. I'm not shutting you out, I said softly. I'm trying to figure out what's real. 2 days later, I sat in my lawyer's office signing the final divorce papers. David had agreed to everything: the house, the custody arrangement for our non-existent children, the division of assets. He wanted out as much as I did, though for different reasons. My phone buzzed with a text from James. Thinking of you today. Whatever you decide, I respect it. But I meant what I said. I love you. I stared at him for a long time. Then I typed back, I love you too, but I need to understand what that means. That evening, I met Amy at a coffee shop in Capitol Hill. She looked smaller than I remembered, her blonde hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, her makeup minimal. Thank you for agreeing to see me, she said as I sat down across from her. I almost didn't. She nodded. I deserve that. I deserve worse than that. We sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment. Finally, she spoke. David told me about you and James Morrison. I tensed and I wanted you to know that James and we were never really together. We slept together a few times after my divorce, but he was clear it wasn't serious. He was always looking for something else, someone else. Why are you telling me this? Amy's eyes met mine, and I saw genuine remorse there. Because I think he found it with you. And because despite everything I've done, I don't want to be the reason you lose something real. I walked home through the Seattle drizzle, Amy's words echoing in my mind. When I reached my apartment, James was waiting by the door, holding a single white rose. I know you need time, he said, but I also know I can't lose you. I took the white rose from James's hands, feeling its soft petals against my fingertips. The Seattle drizzle continued around us, but in that moment, standing in the doorway of my apartment with this man who'd turned my world upside down, everything felt crystal clear. Come inside, I said softly. We talked until 3 a.m, really talked. About Amy, about his past, about what we both wanted. James told me about the loneliness he'd felt before meeting me, how he'd built walls around his heart after his own divorce years earlier. He admitted that, yes, he'd known exactly who Amy was when I first mentioned her name at Meridian Bar, but swore that his feelings for me had nothing to do with revenge or manipulation. I fell in love with you that first night, he said, taking my hands in his. Not because of David, not because of Amy. Because of you, Your strength, your fire, the way you refuse to let betrayal break you. I believed him. More than that, I felt it in my bones. The next 18 months passed like a dream I was afraid to wake up from. My divorce from David was finalized on a rainy Tuesday in March. He'd moved to Portland with some new girlfriend he'd met online, not Amy, who had apparently learned her lesson about married men and was focusing on her yoga studio. I kept our house, which I promptly sold, using the proceeds to buy a charming craftsman bungalow in Queen Anne. James and I took things slowly, despite the intensity of our connection. We went on proper dates, dinner at intimate restaurants, weekend trips to the San Juan Islands, long walks through Pike Place Market where he'd buy me fresh flowers every Saturday. He met my sister Claire, who initially remained skeptical but gradually warmed to him as she saw how he treated me, like I was precious, like I was chosen. "He looks at you the way David never did," she told me one evening over wine. "Like you're the most fascinating person in the room." Some friendships didn't survive my divorce. The wives from David's law firm circle dropped me entirely, uncomfortable with my choice to leave rather than forgive. But other relationships deepened. My college roommate Sarah threw me a new life party. My neighbor Mrs. Chen, an elderly widow, became an unexpected confidant, sharing stories of her own late-in-life romance. James proposed on a Friday evening in October, exactly 2 years after that first night at Meridian Bar. Not with grand gestures or public displays, but quietly, in the kitchen of my new house while I was making pasta sauce. He simply got down on one knee beside my kitchen island and said, "Michelle, will you marry me and let me live?" The ring was perfect. A vintage Art Deco setting with a brilliant diamond that caught the light like captured starlight. I said yes before he'd even finished asking. Now, 18 months later, I stand on a bluff overlooking Puget Sound, wearing my grandmother's pearl earrings and a flowing ivory dress that moves like water in the ocean breeze. The ceremony is small, 30 people who truly matter to us. Claire stands beside me as my maid of honor, radiant in sage green silk. James's best man is his brother Michael, who flew in from Chicago with tears already threatening his composure. The officiant, a kind woman named Pastor Williams, whom we'd met through James's church, smiles at us warmly. Behind her, the sound stretches endlessly, ferry boats moving like white birds across the blue expanse. "We gather today to celebrate Michelle and James," Pastor Williams begins, "two people who found love when they needed it most, who chose courage over comfort, truth over convenience." I look at James, handsome in his navy suit, his eyes never leaving my face. He's nervous, I can tell by the way his fingers fidget with his wedding band, a simple platinum band that matches mine. But his smile is pure joy. "James," Pastor Williams prompts, "your vows." He takes a folded piece of paper from his jacket pocket, then puts it away without looking at it. "Michelle," he begins, his voice steady despite the emotion I can hear underneath. 18 months ago, you walked into my life carrying the weight of betrayal and the fire of determination. You taught me that love isn't about perfect timing or perfect circumstances. It's about perfect trust. Tears blur my vision, but I blink them back, wanting to memorize every word. You showed me what it means to be brave enough to start over, to believe in second chances, to fight for happiness instead of settling for survival. I promise to cherish not just your love, but your strength. I promise to be worthy of the trust you've placed in me. I promise to love you not just in the easy moments, but especially in the difficult ones. You are my heart, Michelle. You are my home. Now the tears do fall, and I don't try to stop them. Pastor Williams hands me a tissue with a knowing smile, and I hear Claire sniffle behind me. "Michelle, your vows." I take a shaky breath. "James, when I met you, I thought I was looking for revenge. Instead, I found redemption. You didn't just help me leave a marriage that was killing my soul, you helped me discover who I was meant to be. Strong, unafraid, worthy of real love." His eyes are bright with unshed tears now too. "I promise to trust you with my whole heart, not just the easy parts. I promise to choose us every day, even when it's hard. I promise to be your partner in all things, in dreams and disappointments, in adventures and quiet Sunday mornings. You saved me, James, but more than that, you helped me save myself. I love you completely." "The rings," Pastor Williams says. Michael steps forward with James's band, and Claire hands me the ring box. Our fingers shake slightly as we slide the platinum circles onto each other's hands. By the power vested in me by the state of Washington, and more importantly, by the love that surrounds us here today, I now pronounce you husband and wife. James, you may kiss your bride. James cups my face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away my tears. Mrs. Morrison, he whispers, and then his lips are on mine. The kiss is soft at first, then deeper, full of promise and passion and pure happiness. Our guests cheer, and somewhere in the distance, a fairy horn sounds its blessing. As we break apart, I see Claire raising her champagne glass. To Michelle and James, she calls out, her voice carrying over the sound, who proved that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin in the most unexpected places. To second chances, to new beginnings, and to love that's worth fighting for. To Michelle and James, everyone echoes. I lean into my new husband's embrace, watching the sunset paint the water gold and pink. 3 years ago, I was a woman who settled for scraps of affection, who believed that betrayal was something to endure rather than escape. Now I'm a woman who knows her worth, who chose love over fear, who found her soulmate in the ashes of her old life. Sometimes the most devastating endings are actually the most beautiful beginnings in disguise. Sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what you're truly capable of finding. James kisses my temple and whispers, "Ready for our next adventure, Mrs. Morrison." I smile up at him, my heart full to bursting. I've been ready my whole life.